go ahead with the traverse computation in surveying because we are supposed to meet physically, but based on the fact I'm also busy with some tests and some stuff like that. So that was the reason I couldn't make it physical. And I was told you're having a test on Wednesday, and I also have a test too. So I have to quickly at least give you an idea of what the traverse saying is all about. So now you all have this. Let me try to share my screen. Downloads. So I want to share my screen now. I believe you can all see my screen now. Good. So sorry, it's taking time. Okay, good. So here is the question. You have the question. I believe you can all see that. So now in traversing, let me quickly explain all these times for us so that we can understand what it's all about. When we're talking about reconnaissance, reconnaissance is like you are trying to inspect an area, like in the sense that let's say okay, you want to carry out a survey, you need to get yourself familiarized with whatever that's within the environment first before you now start carrying out the task. So your reconnaissance is like a preliminary investigation. That's the first thing you do for every survey task. So that's all your reconnaissance is all about. You just have a view of the area you want to survey and stuff like that. So you can read more on that theoretically. The next one is monumentation. Monumentation is like you're trying to like there's something called beaconing. You're trying to like stationing, like you're trying to bury beacons, like erecting pillars in the soil, and then you try to number. Yeah, you have numbering. You try to inscribe your what's it called your pillar numbers on those monuments you've inserted into the ground. So the monumentation is like the process of carrying out done. So your station description is like you numbering your station, maybe station A, station B, observation, all these things you can read them up in your theory. So it's not something uh, that is that complex. So now let's move on to the question. Now you are given series of coordinates. You have your northings and you have your eastings. I believe you can all see my screen, right? All together. Hello.
Yes, you
I
can continue,
okay,
sir.
right, good. Now you have your northings and you have your eastings. Now this corresponds to your longitude and this corresponds to your latitude. But these series of values are all in projected form, that is in form of a rectangular coordinate system. So that's why we have them in like numbering like very much. Not we're not having it in form of degree, minutes, and seconds this time around. We're having it in form of minutes, like meter eastern and meter northern. We don't have it in form of degree, minutes, and seconds. Did you get that? So that's the difference between geographical coordinates and your projected coordinates. So now we want to determine what are the distances between all the stations, and at the same time we want to get the bearing of each line. What are those coming in again now? So we want to determine what are the bearings and the distances. Sometimes you might have all these bearing and distances, not like you don't have any value in all these boxes here. So sometimes we ask to like fill in the gaps and whatever stuff like that. But I'm going to teach you a method now that covers everything once and for all. So that's what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to open a sheet like I have a sheet. I have a sheet, Excel sheet. So the sheet is like you have your traverse. computation sheet on your side. Yeah, yeah, you have these on your side, right? All together. Good. So now we are going to write. You can see I have the coordinates. These are the coordinate columns here. These are the coordinate columns. You have your northings and you have the eastern all together. So this way you're going to fill in. I'm sorry, what's happening? What do you mean? What's happening? Chop, chop, chop. Okay, you're doing something like this. Okay. Of course, still the same thing. You have the eastern and the northern. Yeah, you're right. You have the eastern and the northern. So you'll be asked to compute for the what's it called? The change in latitude and change in departure. At the same time, you'll be asked to compute. You'll be asked to compute for what's it called? You'll be asked to compute for the bearing and the distances of each line altogether. So that is what we want to carry out. Oriomi, of course, I'm recording it. Don't worry about that. Yep, don't worry, it's recorded. Don't worry. Now, how do you now get the bearing and distances of all these things out? So that's what I want to try to bring out now. So it's something that's very simple, and you write all this coordinates. I'm trying to open up my Excel file so that I can type in and then you see it together. Then we can work with examples. You have your computation sheet on your side. You can place it down with your pens and your calculator, and then we work together. All together now. So all together now. So we can all see these coordinates, right? Good. So now you have your series of what's it called? You have something similar to this on your side. Oh, where are those coming in again? Please don't disturb. Are they new people? They are just leaving the meeting and joining again, please. We beg you, please. Oh my God. Even though you're not joining, just let us be. Those that are listening, we pass the information across to you people, so it's all right. So now, you have the. All right, it's okay. Apology, troubles computation. So in this case now, just an example. So
Just an example. So
you fill in. So please, you can mute yourself, please. You fill in the coordinates. The question you have, you can ask your class rep to send
ask your class rep to
send
send
you the.
physical class.
You can ask the class rep to send you the question on the group page altogether. Please, you can mute yourself, please. What is now? Oh my God. Please, let's be serious. Now, you have the coordinates. You have the northern here, you have the eastern here. Good. Please, the class rep, you can forward the question to the group page so that we can flow together. Now, the first station we have here is 0110. 0110. That's the first station. And then you have the coordinates.
and then you have
Ah,
the
God.
The coordinates to be
This thing is like which I don't know.
668. You have the question already, right?
668. You have the question already, right?
No.
You can ask from the group page.
You can
They'll
ask
send it.
from the
They'll
group
send
page.
it.
They will
They'll
send it.
send it.
They will send it.
Please, you can. Okay, you can mute yourself.
You can.
please, so
Okay, you
that
can mute
avoid,
yourself. Please. That's
Uh,
Ah,
avoid.
where?
this is where you mute yourself. You mute yourself here altogether. You turn off your microphone. So now, let's progress with what we're doing. Now, like I said at the time, you have something related to this. I'll be accepting people at every 5 minutes, so not to disturb our progress. Now we have the northern and we have the eastern here. The first thing you do is you are given a question, your total station coordinate of points. So you'll be asked to compute the change and departure, or the change in the latitude. That is, the change in latitude is there's something related to this. Let me try to open my sniping tools up here, so I can show you something related to this. Like when you say change in latitude, something related to this. I don't know whether you can see that. Something like a triangle, like change in northerns. You have the change in northerns, and then you have the change in eastern. So this is what we mean by latitude, the double latitude and departure, change in eastern. Just triangle with E means you're changing eastern, and then triangle with N means you're changing northerns. So that's all about that. So you'll be asked to compute for all these values pertaining to each point, and at the same time you'll be asked to calculate the bearing and the distances of each line all together now. Good. So what do you now do? This is my northern column and this is my eastern column. Be very careful. Don't go and write eastern here and don't go and write northern here. You have to be very careful. So now you can do that on your side. Let's go ahead. Now the first thing you do here is, I have how many stations here? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have 11 stations. So now from station is 0. Everything I'm going to write there. Let me use my Excel so that it's very easy. The program having this type of computation sheet is not opening. I don't know why it's that, but let me just try to. I don't know why it's not like that, but I don't know what I get what I'm trying to pass across. Whatever I have here, your station 2, you know we have a first row here on the last column. You have it on your side. Good. What you're going to have here will be your first station, that is 0, 1, 1, 0. This is station 0, 1, 1, 0. So you're going to have something like this. 0, 1, 1, 0. I don't know. Trying to, I think Google Meet you have like a drawing board. I don't know. Let me just admit also. At every 5 minutes I'll be admitting everyone here. So now I think we can all see the Jamboard, right? So
Yes, sir.
okay, thank you for listening, sir. Once you get it, please just pass the information across to others. You get it? So now, what I was saying the other time is, for the last, let's assume these are last column, right? The first row, last column. You're gonna type 0. You're gonna write, not typo, 0, 1, 1, 0 all together. So that's the first station. So you repeat the same thing for others. That is, for the next row you have 0, 1, 1, 1. Did you get that? Did you get that? So you're gonna have something similar like this: 0, 1, 1, 1. All together.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right, good. Thank you for that. So 0, 1, 1, 1 is 0, 1, 1, 2. So like that, until you're done to the last station, the 0, 1, 1, 6. So we have to be very fast so that, because I never wants to sleep now. So. So we have the same thing here. 0116. So you have then 01117. 0118. Okay, I'm almost done. 0119. Then 0118. Now, please don't forget this thing. The first station, you must repeat that all together. We don't always include that when giving you the question. We have to be very careful. We don't always have this type of like we don't always have this repeated like to the last station. So you are the one to repeat that to yourself. So you have to be very careful for that. So you can just copy the last station and then paste. Done. All together. I believe so. Now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good. Now this corresponds to what we are going to have here. All together. So this will be 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 2 until you get to the last point, and then you repeat the first station. Done. All together. So as soon as you're done with that, the question is having the coordinates for the x and the y. So you check the corresponding column for the northern at the same time for the eastern. Now for my eastern here, I have eastern is your x is your eastern, your y is a northern. So don't be surprised with that. X corresponds to eastern, and then your y corresponds to your northern. So now this is my northern here. So the value I'm going to have here, the first row corresponding to the 0, 1, 1, 0 will be the value I have in my question. And then I believe we all have the question, so I will just go ahead. Sorry. So I'm having something like this. That's my northern, right? This is my northern column, this is my eastern column. So I'm going to arrange that. So I'm going to arrange that. Then what is the northern for 0110? The northern is 828.934.961. All together. That's the first one. Copy, paste, and then I believe we all got this right. So then you write the eastern. You write the eastern, of course, the eastern. Don't be confused. Sometimes the heading might be changed to eastern first or northern. So you have to check the corresponding column for that particular, whether it's eastern or northern. All together now. So this is 668. 100, because some people, like some examiner, can just change the heading. So people just like cram, okay, this is my northern, this is my eastern. Sometimes you have to check the heading before you start typing all those things. So it happens to me when I was my NDD, so which later resulted to 0. So 829 122. I don't know what's happening to that Excel file. Assuming it works out, I will have used that one. It's perfectly the same as the competition sheet I sent to you. I don't know why. It's my fault. So you have that. So each should correspond to the station as sent in your, what's it called, the question. So I want to use like 3 lines for an example so that you get what I mean. 668.147.766. 668 328.787, and then for this 829.322.806. So like this, like that. So you're gonna write something related to this, and then just copy this and paste it till you get to the end. So the end station is having the same coordinate as the one we have at the top, because that's the station. So you're going to write the same coordinate for other station here. So now we already filled all this now. So the question now is that they will ask you to compute for your this is what called backward computation. Let me see, I think I should have something related to that. I'm sorry, I created the Excel file that was in part 2, but I couldn't remember the password again. I'm sorry. Chap. What's my password? Chap. Hey. Please, let's leave that for now. Let me just quickly check my channel. Sorry. I'm sorry for that. I need to show you like an interface where you can see all those things once and for all. I'm sorry for wasting your time, sirs and mans. So it's a very simple calculation. Once you get it, that's all. Now, good. Do you see this? All together?
No.
How? Can we all see this? Can you all see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Once you can get
Yeah,
it,
I can see your screen.
Alright, good. So let me just use this straight away, not to waste our time. Now, as you can see here now, you can see I have the same thing like my Eastern and Northerns and everything. So let's just quickly, let's neglect the station 2 now. Let's assume all these 37 whatever is what we have in the question altogether. So just make sure that you are going to repeat. You can see for this now, I repeat that to be the last station. You can see that I have a 3707. That is what I have to be at the top. Did you get that now? So don't forget that particular code, because you can just be calculating and just end up and my job is not working and stuff like that. So sorry, blah blah blah. So now the Eastern, now you can see the Eastern for the first one is but this is an automated, it's a program, so it will be calculating the distances and the bearings and everything at the same time. So my eastern here is 668 100.118. That's the first one. This is 828 934.961. That's the first one. So we already assume that this corresponds to 0110. Like, all together. I'm just
Yes.
yeah, alright, thank you. I'll just use this. Season is Excel, so it will be automated. So I'll just use the automated form to do that. So 7, 8. We didn't even have 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. 7, 9. You can see, as I'm writing it there, you can see what is happening on the other side. All together.
Yeah.
So 119. So that tells you that you're going to have the computation sheet. So whatever you have on this first line, you shouldn't have anything from here. Like station from on the first row must be empty altogether. So 011 and A. That's all. Then the second one is 011C. 011C. And then don't forget, I asked you that you have to do what? You repeat the first station to ensure it is a closed traverse. That's the first thing. So once you do that, then let's insert the coordinate for each station. That's 668 147. You can do that on your side to just to ensure that you understand what I'm doing. So I don't know, do we have a pending person here? No. It's 29 122.839 rather. Your class rep will send a question to you. So then the third one is you can notice that.
Those are.
All right. Okay. Good. You can notice that you have mine to be eastern first here and northern to be here first. So that's the reason I'm saying you have to consider the heading first. Altogether. Sometimes on your own side you have it to be northern here. If you check that, you have it to be northern here and then to be eastern here. So you have to be careful of that. So the 112 is so the 112 here is 668 328.787. So please, can someone call that for me, please? So somehow 829, just one person. 829 322.086. Okay. Okay.
829
You mean
511.
89 for the next one, right? 89.
Yes.
89. Go ahead.
511.
511. Point.
594.
594.
594.
What's the eastern for that point?
668.
668.
399.
399.
.446.
446. Next one.
829.
829.
814.
814.
814.
Points.
468.
468.
468.
568, right?
468.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Now, what's the eastern?
668.
668.
524.
524. Points.
.557.
557.
557.
Okay, good. The next one.
I honestly don't understand everything.
You understand everything?
I don't understand.
You don't understand. Where do you get it
Ah,
wrong? Do you have
ah,
something similar to this?
everything I don't.
Do you have something similar to this on your
Sir?
side? Do you have something similar to this on your side?
No.
All right. I'm recording the video, so as soon as we're done, you can just check it back. Understand? Check the video back. All together. I don't want to make, like, I don't want to waste our time because this is almost
Alright,
56.
sir.
Yeah. So thank you. So,
Okay.
Uncle, you can go ahead, sir. The 115, the nodding.
830
830
830 053
053
.962
962
668
668
502
502 points
.501
501. So the next one, we're almost done. Sorry for that.
830
830.
830
Yep. Go ahead.
231
231
.1
1
.108
108. The Eastern is what?
08
Yep. 108, of course. The Eastern is what?
668
668.
668
Yep.
336
336
.319
319. 117 is what?
830
830
435
435 points
.307
307. The Eastern is what?
668
668.
668
Yep.
255
255 points
.599 599
599. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
830
830
666
666 points.
.231
Two what?
231
All right, sir. Sorry. So, Eastern is what? 668.
668
Yep.
055
055 points.
.898
898. Then the next one.
831
831
100
100
.140
140. Next,
668
668
100
100
.589.
589.
That's all.
No. We should have one. Sorry. Or do we make mistakes with the numbering? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Remaining one. So something is wrong somewhere. I made a mistake somewhere. Hello? You there? 589 599. Made a mistake somewhere. 118 766 787 446 557 517. Nah, yep. 557. Oh, you made a mistake. I see where you made a mistake. Yep, exactly. You made a mistake here. Yeah, exactly. 668 527. This is where you made a mistake. 57.517. Mm, 89 517 89 814. Made a mistake there. 468. So that's, oh, something is wrong. Oh. Try.
More.
There's an issue with the person calling the value there. 771. Okay, I get that. Don't worry. 89 631.771. So I rectified that already. Thank you, sir. So now you've written all these on your script or your sheets, competition sheet, whatever. So you've written that you're not in Eastern. The station 2, you've written the 011, whatever. Remember, the first rule here, you don't have anything. As you can see here, you don't have anything there. So the next line will correspond to whatever you have here. All together.
Yes, sir.
Good. So repeat the same thing for everything. Now, remember I told you, if you're starting at a station, you must make sure you repeat that station as soon as you're done writing everything. So don't forget that. So you copy this.
Excuse me, sir. So, are you going to do another example after this one?
No, I'm not doing any example anymore.
Okay.
Sorry. That's all. I'm just trying to show you with the question. The question I got is from your class rep. So. Let me show you that. Don't worry about that. We're not after the program. Just after you getting what to do. So now, as you can see here, I have what is called your partial easting and you have your partial northern all together. The formula to calculate this is very simple. You're going to subtract the easting of station 111 minus, just like you have this, just copy this, paste this, minus this, all together. Hello.
Yes, sir. We are together.
All right. You see that this minus this will give me a value. If that value is positive, if you check your four cardinal points, you have your graph positive to the north, positive to the east, negative to the south, and negative to the west. Did you get that? Good. If you have that, you subtract this value here from what you have here. The value you have can either be positive or negative. If it is positive, you write it under, for this now, this is the northern column, right? So if you subtract this second row from this, the value on this second row from the value you have on the first row, the value you got will be written on the second row, not the first row. Get that? You're not going to have anything on the first row. This will be empty. Remember, some people make mistakes. Nothing will be here. Good. So now, you subtract whatever value you have here on the second row. I have 15 minutes more for the time range, so I have to very fast. I have 1 hour. So don't worry, it's very simple. You just subtract the value you have here from what you have here. The value you have is either positive or negative. You write it. If it is positive, you write it under north. Did you get that? If it is negative, you can see now north positive, south negative. You get that? So if it is negative, you write it under south. All together. That's the first one. You check your easting too. The value you have on the second row minus value you have on the first row. Whatever you have, you consider the result. Is it positive or negative? If it's positive, you write it under east. If it's negative, you write it under west. All together. So you repeat the same thing for everything. Then you're gonna have all these value here. Yeah, this one. You see that? You can see I have P3 minus P2, that is whatever I have here minus what I have here. Did you get that? So that's the way you're going to do that for everything till you get to the last station. Remember, you have to repeat your first station to be your last station. Are we together? Now, how do you not get your distance? It's very simple. Your distance follows this formula, the square root of, what's it called? Let me just click on that. Did you see that? The square root of the change in northern square plus your change in eastern square. That is what we have to be your distance. You have the formula in your notes showing this. Let me try to see what I can write that out. You have something like this. Sorry. You have something like this, square root of your change in northern square. I don't know what I've seen something like that before. Are we together? Plus the change in eastern square. Are we together? Have you seen something like this before? I would say something like
Yes,
that.
sir. Yes, sir.
Good. Now, remember, the function of this square is just like, when you have negative, it can either be negative or positive. Don't be afraid. Whenever you have your negative, just enclose your negative. Let's assume the value I have. Let's assume the value I have here is. Let's assume the value I have here is. Oh, sorry. Let's assume the value I have here is negative. Like when I try to subtract my nothing from each other, then you can just see your negative, whatever value you have, and then enclose that again, then square. As soon as you square that, your negative becomes positive, right? Or I believe you know that. So that, yeah, it becomes positive because minus times minus will give you plus. So the same thing happens there. So don't be surprised whether your value is negative or positive. Just ensure that you enclose that into the brackets, and then you square them, you get out, and you go ahead. So it's a very simple concept, but don't be confused about that. Just put in your negative into the bracket, close that, then square it plus, then open your bracket. Either this is positive or minus, just put it in the bracket, everything square. Calculate everything, and then that will give you your distance. Are we together? So that will give you the distance covered. This is it. So you should have something similar to this when you are doing your own computation. You get that? You should have something similar to this. Good. Now you repeat the same thing for others. So you're going to have every distance computed, like calculated. So now let's now go to our bearing. That's the main thing. Your formula is tan inverse. Theta equals to tan inverse. You have to be very careful here. Sorry, I have like 15 minutes more, let's say, like 5 minutes more, so I quickly want to explain that answer. Don't mind me, please. So now I have your value to be tan. Sorry, don't mind my writing, please. Theta equals to, open your big bracket, change in easting. Don't be surprised. Just remember that your E comes before your N. There are some people that put not up and then east below. Don't be confused. Don't be like that, please. Easting with respect to northern. You have this formula in your book. Don't worry. All together. Tan. Can someone check? Is it tan inverse? Oh no, it's tan theta. So when I want to check my theta now, it will not be tan inverse. Am I right? Good. So whatever you have now, you have to be very careful here. It's very tricky. It's very tricky here. Now you consider the value you have here. Neglect your sign for now. All together. Neglect the sign you have either for the eastern or for the northern. Neglect the sign for now. All together. You put in your easting, which is 47.648.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, neglect the sign for now. Neglect the sign. 40 whatever for whatever divided by what is the nodding? The nodding will be 187.933. So once you calculate that first, for 7.648 divided by 187 point whatever, you're going to have a value, right? You now take, for you to find theta, you have to take the inverse, like tan inverse of the value for you to get your theta. So once you get the theta, that is not your bearing. Be careful. Some people do stop there. That is not your bearing. Your bearing is when you now consider what is the sign of my easting, what is the sign of my nodding. So you now draw your what's it called? You draw your 4 cardinal point again. If you could recall the building and the concept of easting, you can recall that, and I think part of European market too. You remember this is positive, this is positive. Are we together? This is negative, this is negative. This is where you get your rebearing. That one is just theta. That one is theta alone. That is not your rebearing yet. So now this, your theta will always be the theta. Here is your 180 minus theta. Are we together? This is the 180 minus theta. So is it 270? My service is doing whatever. This 270 minus theta. Can you hear my what's it called? Can you hear me? Oh, it's gone. I left the meeting already. Okay.
So start a new link.
Okay,
So don't end up with.
all right. Thank you. Okay, I'll just end this. Because we want to do not the normal forward computation. We have the backward computation and then we have the forward computation. But the backward computation is very easy somehow, quite easy. But we are dealing with the forward computation. It's very technical. The one we did when I was in part 2 then was both backward and forward computation. So a lot of people have issue with SVG 201 and 202 then, I could recall. Our current teacher was not taking us then, Dr. Lodari. So can please try to persuade others that try to join us very fast. So once I have 10 students, I think we're good to go. One, two, three, four. I have 4 people here. So to proceed now, I already told you that okay, you have the formula today. Tan theta equals to your change in easting over change in nodding. Don't forget to write your nodding at the top first though. Don't write your nodding at the top, at the numerator. Remember your easting comes, that's what I used to denote because I do make mistake there too. I'm writing nodding up here and then putting easting down. Remember you have your letter H before your letter H, so you have to take that into consideration. Like everything you're doing here is just formula, your roots of changing easting square, either changing nodding or changing easting, either of the two first, because the sign there is just additional sign. So you're just changing easting square plus changing nodding square, then you find the total square root of everything. That will give you your distance in meter. So now for you to get the bearing now, this theta is not your bearing. Be careful. That's what I'm saying the other time. This theta is not our bearing. Some people just calculate tan theta equals to changing easting over changing nodding, and they'll say my theta is bearing. No. It's not like that. It depends on the sign you have in. You can see this. You can see this column here. This is the positive column. This is the negative column. This is the positive column, and this is the negative column. Like what we have here, the north is positive, east is positive, south is negative, and then my west is negative too. So anytime you want to calculate your bearing, you find the theta first. So now your theta will now be considered based on this on the sign you have here, on the sign you have when you are calculating your partial nodding and partial easting. So that will now allows you to get your real bearing. Did you get that now? Sometimes right. So sometimes you might be asked to find the coordinates of other points given a bearing and the distances. Did you get my point? That one also is very simple. You just use your formula, but before I get there, let me just complete this first. Now, to find our bearing, we are going from backward computation now. We are moving from my right to the left. That is your backward computation. We are moving from your left to your right. That is forward computation. All together. So I have my tan theta equals to partial easting over partial northern. And then once you get the theta, your theta is not your bearing. Remember that. I said that. Then you now consider that particular partial northern and partial easting. Where do we have it to be negative? Where do we have it to be positive? If the value for that first row is positive to the north, so where is the positive to the north? We have it here. We have it to be positive to the north here. And then where do we have it to be negative? If it is if the value is negative, that means that is the west. So here it is. So the real bearing will now be, you can see it falls within the fourth quadrant. So the real bearing will now be, you can see. Don't worry, I have the video ready. You can just try to check it out. So there is no more time. I'm sorry. A lot of people are like conscious of their time. So you have like 360 minus theta. I'm sorry. How to get out?
Yes, sir.
Alright. Oh, sorry. I'm not even sharing my screen. Oh my god. Nobody talked. But I'm recording the video, so don't bother yourself. So now, what I was saying the other time is that, I was talking about the tan theta equals to partial easting over partial northern. Don't write northern first and put in easting down. Put your easting first. Your E comes before your N. Don't get that confused. Then your tan theta equals to partial easting to partial northern. Your theta here is not your bearing. That's what I'm saying. Your theta is what we have here in the quadrant. It's an angle. So for you to find the bearing, you have to check the sign for the partial northern and partial eastern value. So for the first row, let's say when you do your subtraction from your eastern of second row from the eastern of, you got minus. So that means for your eastern it will be minus. So where do you have minus to be eastern? Eastern is minus. This is my eastern. That is west. West. Anything east, west, they are on the same plane. Anything north, south, they are on the same plane. This is north, south plane. This is the north, south plane vertical. East, west, horizontal. So the negative here is negative. So you take that as consideration. And remember, you always reference from the what's it called? From the north or the prime meridian, the north south pole all together. You always reference from the north south pole. So in this case now, you consider your north what is called value first. So now you say this is let's say the value I got here is positive. Then I say, okay, this is my positive here, and then you check the eastern. Is it positive or negative? Okay, it's negative then. Okay, it's here. So the theta you have here will now be the 360 minus that value you have. Did you get my point now? So good. That's all. Now let's say you have the value on the northern, the partial north column. You have the value to be negative. So you come here. So that will be negative to what do we have on the east-west plane? Is it positive or negative? If it is positive, then that means it will be 180 minus theta. Did you get that? Then if it is negative, that means it will be 270 minus theta. Did you get that? So that will give you your real bearing. Not this theta is not your bearing. Remember that. So now let's assume the value I have on the partial northern is positive and the value I have on the eastern is also positive. That is when we have our theta to be the bearing. That is, it doesn't change. Your theta equals to theta here. If you record that, it doesn't change. The theta is theta here. So it will be positive on the north, positive on the east. Remember, you reference the north-south first. Don't go and say eastern is positive and this is negative. No. You reference from the north-south plane. That is the positive. You consider the north-south. That is, do I have negative on my north? Or do I have negative first and positive follows? So if this negative, you reference from the south to either of the east or west. And then if it's positive, you reference from the north to either your east and west. Did you get that now? So that's how you do. You don't reference from east positive, then referencing to no. You don't reference from your east, or sorry, from the west negative to any of those you reference from that straight line, the vertical line, the prime meridian. You reference from that. So that's another thing you have to take note of. And then now for this now, if you do that on your side, if you calculate that, you're going to have either positive or negative on the partial nodding, either positive or negative on the partial easting, nearest to 3 decimal places. You get my point now. So the value you have now, you've calculated the distance, you have it done, and then if you want to calculate the bearing, you use a formula. Tan theta equals to partial easting over nodding. You calculate it mathematically. Your tan will be your theta will be arc tan, that's tan inverse of the value you have. So the value you have is your theta, not yet your bearing altogether. The value you're going to have on your calculator will be 0. Whatever. So there is a particular icon on your calculator. I don't know the icon. I don't have my calculator here, but I'll show you. There's an icon on the calculator where you can change your degree, minute, and seconds. So you change that to degree, minute, and something like this, something like this, like an icon like that, something like that. You can see that some people that are familiar with that, degree, minute, and seconds, whatever, will teach you that. You just click that particular button on your calculator, then you have the value in degree, minute, and seconds. Then that value is what you subtract from your either your 360, or you're leaving it, or you're removing it from 180, or you're subtracting from 270. So after you're done referencing from the north plane to both sides, either east or west. So now I think that one is done. We all understand that. I believe that. Now that is all about backward computation. You are using your coordinate to get your bearing, at the same time you're getting your distance, at the same time you're getting your partial nodding and easting. Now let's say maybe you're not given your coordinates. You're given the coordinate of 1 point and the bearings of other line and the distances, and you're asked to compute. Like what I'm saying is that you'll be given the coordinates for this, for a point like this, and then they will now give you the bearing. They'll give you the bearing here, they'll give you the distance, the true horizontal distance here altogether. So they give you everything. They will now ask you to calculate the partial nodding, the partial easting, and the corrected coordinates. So this will now become a question mark for you. Did you get my point now? So it can come in different form. So these new coordinates will now be what you're going to work on. So how do you do that? They give you the bearing and the distances. You get my point. So now you can see this thing already have the formula already. If you check this out, if you check this table, but sometimes they do remove all these things. Sometimes they won't give you the table. So you're going to use something called the formula called for you to get your partial nodding. That one is very simple, very simple. For you to get your partial nodding, it will now be equals to your L cos theta. It's very simple. It's what you know. Everything here is maths. So just understand the formula to do, and somebody to just put it through. This is what to do. This is what to do. Is what you know. Now your change in nodding or your partial nodding equals to your L cos theta. What is your L? That is your measured distance. They give you that. They give you for that particular line. Did you get my point? In case you're not given coordinates, that's what I'm saying. Let's say they give you the bearing and distance. You know, for this you're asked to compute the bearing and distance, and at the same time it compute the partial nodding. Now let's say you're not giving the what's it called, the coordinate. They just give you a coordinate of a point. They will now give you the bearing and the distances of other lines between stations. They will now ask you to compute the partial coordinates and at the same time calculate the real coordinate. Your partial coordinate is also your change in order and change in distance. Don't be confused. So it's something similar. So you use, you know, when you're doing the backward computation, we make use of this minus this to get this. Then either positive or negative, you write it to the appropriate column. The same thing, you square root of change in distance plus change in nodding, you get your distance. Then you tan inverse, whatever, you get your bearing, right? That's your backward computation. Now you're going forward. Your forward will now be your L. You know what we want to get is the partial coordinate, that is the partial nodding and partial easting, right? It's now be L cos theta. What is my L? That's the measure length. This is 50. Now it's 50 cos. What is the theta? Your theta is the bearing. Did you get that? So you just put that. The value you have, it can either be positive or negative. Did you get that? You see, any value you are getting in this partial zone, it can either be positive or it can be negative. So if it's positive, you write it under nodding. Do you get my point? If it's negative, you write it under easting. Are we together? Sorry, if it's positive, you write it under your nodding. If it's negative, you write it under your south part. That is for the nodding. Now, for you to calculate your partial easting, it's not something like that. It's just once you understand the formula, you're good to go. That is L sine theta. So for the L sine theta now, you know the same thing you did for that northern is the same thing, just that you are having the trig identity to change, just cos and sine. You get that? So for eastern, you use a sign instead of cos. So the value you have, you write it. If it's positive, you write it under east. Yep. You write it under east. If it's positive, you write it here. Remember, don't write anything on the first row. It's always empty. Altogether, it's always empty. Now, if it's negative, you put it here. Altogether now. So that's all about that. So you do the same thing for other bearing. You're going to have the bearing and the distance. So you do the same thing to get the partial coordinate or the partial nodding for each line respectively. Did you get it now? Now, how do you now determine the coordinate of other points? It's very simple. The way we do in mathematics, you just take the previous coordinate here. I taught you this in leveling, like when I was teaching you leveling, that you take the benchmark, you consider during rise and fall method of leveling. Okay, go ahead. I have a question. Go ahead. Hello? You there? Okay, alright. Wow. Talk. Don't be afraid. Talk now. We are learning. I'm a student too.
Go ahead, sir.
Alright.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, I want to ask,
Okay.
sir,
Okay.
a situation whereby we have our eastern to be negative. Are we recording it under west?
No. Yep. Okay. Do you mean this? Your partial is right?
Yes.
Yeah. If you calculate this and you have it to be negative, you are going to put it under the west side. Did you get that? The west column. How good? Hello?
No.
See, these are the two formulas you need. Your partial nodding and partial easting. The partial nodding is L cos theta. Did you get that? If you apply this, you'll be given the distance, at the same time you'll be given a bearing. Did you get my point? You know, the other time we calculated the bearing and the distances ourselves. Did you get that? In some cases, you'll be given the bearing and the distances as well. So you'll be asked to calculate the partial nodding at the same time the coordinates. Did you get my point now?
Yes. Sir.
Okay, good. Now to do that, you know, the formula we used the other time was different from these now. These are for your back computation. Those ones I stated earlier then was for back computation. So this is for your forward computation. You're going forward now, you're not moving back. You're going forward. So now, the first thing to do is you'll be given the distances and the bearings for those lines. Now, to get the forward bearing now, to get your partial coordinates or your partial nodding and partial easting, you're going to apply this formula. Your partial nodding equals to L cos theta. Your partial easting equals to L sin theta. All together. So once you do that, now, you know your partial nodding can either be positive or negative. Did you record that? It can either be positive or negative depending on what you have on the calculator. If you press your L is distance, you just press your distance, cos on your calculator, cos, it will bring you a bracket. Then you press in the degree, minute and seconds value you have. So once you press that, you press equal to, you have a value. Your value can be negative or positive. So if value is positive, you know we are still under partial nodding. We are not going to partial easting yet though. We are still under partial nodding. If the value is positive, you put it under where you have N. They get that? If it is negative, you put it under where you have S. Altogether, that's south negative, not positive. You get my point? So for your partial easting too, you have positive too, we have negative. Altogether. So if you press your calculator, L cos theta, still the same L, still the same theta for that line. You know, a line we have a bearing and a distance. Did you get my point now? I don't know how you get that. So if you do that, you check a value. Is it positive? Is it negative? If it's positive, put it under your east. If it's negative, you put it under your west. Altogether. I think that answers your question. So we're good to know. Yeah. So now, like I said the other time, you'll be given a single coordinate. Now you'll be asked to calculate the coordinate of other stations. Now how do you do that? You know, you've gotten your partial coordinates, like to be either positive or either negative. Now you now check the value. Let me open my Excel file. Now you now check the value. It's very simple. It's just like you're going forward and you're going backward. Now to get this, it's now be this. You consider this sign. Is it positive or negative? It's now be 668.11.100.118 plus if the value here is positive, it will be plus, but it is negative, it will be minus for you to get this particular value. I don't know whether I get that.
Yes.
So if I have a value here, if I have a
I
value
got
here,
it.
you got it right, good. So if you have a value here,
Yes, sir.
if I have a value here now, let's say there's a value, and I want to calculate the next value here. They will give you this, they will give you the value here with bearing and distances. So you have computed the partial node and the partial instant, and then you want to get the coordinate of order. So you now check the value here. You know, I told you nothing will be here. You don't have anything here. Forget this first row. You don't have anything there. Now the second row, now you now compare this value here. You compare it. Do I have what I have? Is the value I have here, is it positive or negative? So if it is positive here, if the value here is positive, if the value I have here is positive, you get my point? So that will be this plus this will now give you this. Did you get that? Hello? This black line, you consider this black line, the value we have here in the black line, you consider it with what we have under either your north or south. If it is south, it will be negative. If it's under north, it will be positive. So the value you have here, when you press your calculator, L cos theta, the value you have, if it is it negative or positive, that will let you know where to write it along that line. Are we together? So if it's positive,
Yeah.
you put it on the north, and then you now compare the coordinates given to you in the exercise. Then you check it with what you have here, and then you get the value here. So you see that. Now let's say for the easting too, you know, for your easting you're going to have its own formula too. Length times sine bearing. Did you get that? Length times sine bearing. That is your distance times sine of that particular. You know, the other time we use L cos bearing. Did you get that? So you just remove that cos.
Yeah.
You remove that cos away. You put the sine. The value you have, you now check, is it positive or negative? So let's assume it is negative this time around. So if it is negative, so it will be here. So if it is negative, you can see it's on the same line, right? So it will be here
Yes.
altogether. So if it is negative here now, you have the easting value here. They will give you that one for you to compute the other one. So let's say this is the easting value. Now you now check the easting value. You know, this is minus. This is minus already. So it's now be the easting value here minus the value you have here. We now give you what you are going to have here. Did you get that?
Yeah.
So if you subtract this value, it's something like you're going forward and you're going backward. Did you get that? It's very simple. So if you subtract this value red here minus this black, you must have the value, exact value here. Did you get that?
Yes, sir.
Did you get that? If you have the value, here, the value here minus the value you have up, you must get that exact value you have here. So it's just as if you are going back and you are coming front, like you're going back, you're going forward, like to and fro, like that. So that's what we call it, back computation and forward
Compression.
computation.
No,
Yeah.
press one.
So it's very simple.
We understand that.
So you understand, right? So now you can, for that now. Now remember, for you to calculate the next coordinate, don't go and use this one, oh. Don't use this one, oh. Don't use this one, oh. You're going to use the next one. This one.
Which one?
You're going to use this one, just like cumulative, to compute for the next one. You get that?
Hallelujah. Also,
So-
first line.
Yeah. You won't use the first line to compute other coordinate again. You know, you've used that one to get this.
Okay.
So this new one
First
now.
one, yeah.
Yeah.
I did do.
So the next one now, you do that to compute the others, then you get the new one. This new one too, you use that to compute the others to get a new one, like that, until you are done, and that's all. So did you get that now? So it's not something that is very hard. So it's just like you're going forward and you're going backward. So it's not something that's very hard. So that's all for the computation, traverse computation, whatever. So you can now decide to just ensure that some people are just joining. You are done already. You can I'll upload the video link to your class rep, so they'll forward it to the group so that you can just view what we've discussed so far. So that's all about that. So it's not something that is very hard. So I think you all understand what I've been trying to pass across. So you can see it's a very simple times and stuff like that. So stuff like that. So, and then we have Excel files that have been written. I created one too that I can just automate all those things. So it's not something that's hard. Just understand the concept of the mathematics and then you're good to go. So thank you so much. Have a good night rest and lovely night to everyone. Regards to your class rep.
So I want to ask a question.
Okay,
I
what's
have
the
a
question?
question.
Okay, what's the question, sir?
Okay, so far, according to what we had, our test will be
On
30
Wednesday.
minutes test
Yep, yep.
on Wednesday, yeah. And from what you've taught us, this is not something we can do in 30 minutes. And I
Yep.
was guessing it's going to be an objective
Like
test.
good. Now let me
But
give you an answer to that. Before you, oh, do you want to land? Okay, land. Let me let you land first.
no, like, I think that's because I
All
was
right.
thinking this cannot be done in
Yeah,
30
good,
minutes.
good.
Yeah.
All right. You understand the concept, fine, right? They can say in
Yes,
the
sir.
question they can give you have coordinates A and coordinates B all together.
Go to confirm.
Yeah.
They will now ask you to calculate the partial
You
loading of
confirm.
that
to
particular
yeah.
line A and B. Did you get that?
Yeah, I did.
So you already understand the concept, just that this one is very much. Once you understand the small concept, you apply it to all.
Okay,
Did you get
okay.
that
Thank
now?
you,
And at
sir.
the same time, you can also be
I-
given a bearing and a distance of a line. They will now ask you calculate the partial northing of that line and the partial easting of that line. So you must have the formula on your head that for you to calculate your partial northing, it will be L cos theta, and for the what's it called? It will be L sin theta. Did you get that now?
Yes, I did.
So that's all. So you don't have any stress on that. And for your exam, they can bring everything out directly, like a big table for you. You're maybe 15 or 20 marks. And then if you know that, you already have your 20 marks. You can score everything. It's not something that's very hard. So I think any more questions? Do you have more questions?
No, sir. I think I'm good.
Alright, so thank you. My regards to everyone. Yeah. Alright, thank you so much. Bye bye. Good night.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good night.